There's a guy named Cedric The Entertainer that you should look at. Or we don't even know him. I said, why don't you bring him in? And they brought him in from St. Louis, and he had never acted on anything either. And so they came back to me and they said, well, George Wynn's a bigger star, so we're gonna go with George Wynn. I said, well, yeah, that's cool, but you just said you're gonna go with George Wynn. The funniest person I've ever seen live in my life is Cedric The Entertainer, man. This dude, when Cedric is on stage and doing what he really does as Ced The Entertainer, not this dude you see on TV, Cedric The Entertainer, the stand-up.
Man, I just got back from my family reunion, man. Wow. Boy, my family so wild we had to have security guards at that.
If you could have been in the dressing room of the Kings of Comedy, me, Ced The Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, and Bernie Mac, that dressing room right there, boy, let me tell you something. That dressing room before the show started, we should have taped that stuff. It was classic. Now, none of these jokes are politically correct. But the money we would make off those tapes, I'm telling you right now, we could easily split 800 million. Easy, if we had that footage of the dressing room before the show. That was so funny, man. Oh, God. But you could not, I didn't care. All races was under siege. Whatever your sexual preference is, we don't care. Tag, your ass is it. We didn't give a about who was the president. We was in that dressing room writing some jokes, man, that was so good, man. So good. And I met Ced The Entertainer in '89 at a small comedy club in Dallas. And we became friends. So when I got the Steve Harvey show, who was supposed to be my roommate was George Wynn, the guy that played Norman on Cheers. He was supposed to be my roommate on the Steve Harvey show. But I told him, I said, he cool guy, but, well, he's been on a major hit. Well, I don't care, but I said, there's a guy named Cedric The Entertainer that you should look at. Or we don't even know him. I said, why don't you bring him in? And they brought him in from St. Louis, and he had never acted on anything either. And so they came back to me and they said, well, George Wynn's a bigger star, so we're gonna go with George Wynn. I said, well, yeah, that's cool, but you just said you're gonna go with George Wynn. I said, I want to do it with Ced The Entertainer. They said, well, we're gonna make George Wynn an offer. I said, okay, cool, you make George Wynn an offer, then you gotta go get another Steve Harvey. I said, because if you don't give me Ced The Entertainer, I ain't gonna do the show. Because I gotta do it with somebody I know is funny. Yeah. And Ced The Entertainer's funny. Yeah. And so this lady came in the room and said, we'll sign him for 3 weeks. Ced was on TV for 7 years. 7 years. Funny guy.